Now, as Elon Musk celebrates his 49th birthday today, in fact, so sort of iconic is this guy as a sort of tech figure that he was trending on Twitter today just because it was his birthday. He's I think a very Marmite figure. Some love him, some hate him, but everybody talks about him, and almost everybody has given him a bit of their money. We'll be asking whether he is the modern day equivalent of Thomas Edison or Henry Ford. For the inside story of the founder of PayPal, SpaceX, and of course Tesla, I'm delighted to be joined by renowned technology journalist and host of the very entertaining Behind the Scenes Tech podcast, Guy Cocker. Guy, welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening, Mark.
Really good to have you on the show. Why is Elon Musk such a figure of fascination? Is it his achievements or his mystique as a personality?
Well, I think he's interesting to a lot of people because I think for a lot of kids today, actually, tech and YouTube and sort of following that sort of nerdy dream has become an actual reality, and Elon Musk is the embodiment of that. So you've always had guys like Bill Gates and I guess Steve Jobs at Apple as well. Yeah. But Elon Musk has achieved so much. It's his 49th birthday today, and he was, he's very much bullied at school. He's sort of slightly awkward. He has lots of gaffes on stage, like when he said his latest pickup truck had essentially bulletproof windows, and he threw a steel ball through it and smashed the window. But he does deliver on a lot of what he promises, and he also talks very passionately about the things that are really important to him. So he said, his ultimate aim, while he is making electronic cars, and the market cap of Tesla has now beaten Toyota for the first time. It's now the biggest car manufacturer in the world by value, at least. Yeah. His real passion is getting people into space. So he says within his lifetime he wants to get the human race to become an interplanetary species, and that's a big ask. It's still a big thing for us to get to Mars. But in the last few weeks alone, he's the first commercial manufacturer of a spacecraft that's got NASA astronauts into space. That's the first time that's ever happened. So if anyone's going to make it happen, it's him. And there's a very good chance of him still being someone, like you said, like Thomas Edison, who is spoken about as a revolutionary 500 years on.
Yes, I mean, he co-founded PayPal, which would be enough of a legacy for anyone, and SpaceX, and then he launched the electric car brand Tesla. Does he feel that he's conquered planet Earth, and that's why he's now looking to the next dimension, which is space?
Yeah, well, I mean, what's interesting about him is that he only made his first billion. So he's worth 42 billion today. He only made his first billion 8 years ago. So he's times that by 42 in the last 8 years, which is crazy. Tesla's been very successful. I think when Tesla launched, it was our assumption, at least in the sort of tech journalism industry, that he would get bought out by someone like Ford or Toyota. But he's now expanded beyond their capabilities. And I think that the sort of genius of him is that he is able to be very fast moving. So he launched an electric car, and he often over promises and says he'll deliver, but he does ultimately deliver very quickly, and that's made him very difficult to catch up with if you're one of his competitors. So that's the way that he succeeded. But yeah, certainly I get the feeling from him that he has this incredibly active imagination. He's always talking about something that's new to him. In the last couple of weeks, he said he wants to essentially get rid of his possessions, and including all of his houses. So he's put quite a few of his houses on sale, and he wants to sort of live a more basic life. But yeah, I think your assertion that he's essentially bored of Earth and is more interested in the cosmos, I think is actually correct. And he speaks about things that are crazy. Essentially that life as we're experiencing it could be a simulation created by an advanced civilization. So he's the sort of person that has those deep sort of philosophical debates with himself and his contemporaries, and he's incredibly successful as a business person as well.
His success is very counterintuitive, isn't it, Guy? I mean, I've been thinking about parallels between him and Bill Gates, and I'm not really feeling a connection. Whereas if I look at Steve Jobs, I think there might be parallels. given the fact that both of these people were great innovators. They created new markets that people didn't think existed. In the case of Steve Jobs, the idea of paying £500, £600, £700 for a smartphone was unheard of. But Steve Jobs was like, no, the iPhone is great. You're going to want it, and this is what you will pay for it. And, you know, you saw how Steve Jobs reimagined the music market with iTunes, and then there was his investment in Pixar. And I just feel that Jobs is somebody that sort of changed the world many times over with his vision, and Musk the same. But as with Jobs, also a very arrogant, a very stubborn personality, and somebody also very self-destructive too. I mean, let's talk about the fact that, you know, he gets caught up in libel actions with people, that innocent characters that he's calling paedophiles, and then getting stoned and making comments that affects the stock valuation of Tesla.
Yes, he has his detractors for sure. A lot of people do think that he's overly brash. I mean, in the last couple of weeks alone, he said that he was going to have a company holiday for the recent Juneteenth holiday, and he announced that on Twitter. And then when someone pressed him on Twitter, he then had to backtrack and say, oh, actually, employees need to use personal holiday to take it. So he's no stranger to controversy. And like you say, his recent actions, like you said, when he was smoking marijuana on a very popular podcast, that wiped a lot of value off of Tesla. But Tesla's accelerating at such a pace that a lot of that value was made back, and has done, even though he's been shutting factories and has been heavily impacted by the coronavirus. And again, said on Twitter that it was anti-American for the companies to be shut down and for people not to be able to go out and perform their jobs and go shopping. So yes, he does have his detractors. I think your comparison to Steve Jobs is very astute, because, you know, Steve Jobs is someone who had sort of a preternatural ability to be able to predict what people would want before they wanted it. So, you know, the famous examples are the iPhone. And then Bill Gates is another example where, you know, Bill Gates essentially invented computing as we know it. Bill Gates has obviously gone on to become someone who is pretty much already given away half of his fortune. And I know there's a separate note about his recent controversies. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, I guess, around him at the moment, but all of which are nonsense, I should add. Yeah. But he's Elon Musk combines elements of all of those, and he's a super nerd. So he's almost like Tony Stark figure, to sort of, you know, invoke Iron Man. He does have these, you know, crazy wild dreams. He for example, created a company that was going to bore underneath Los Angeles, and actually did. I think it was around 17 miles of tunneling. He called it the Boring Company, and that's another one of his sort of aims, is to revolutionize American travel by just going underground and linking up these incredibly fast networks of trains. So he embodies parts of all of those entrepreneurs and tech geniuses.
Now, in your fantastic podcast, which is called the Behind the Scenes Tech Podcast, and the most recent episode features reviews, or at least a first look commentary on the new iPad Pro and I think the MacBook Air. It's well worth a listen. You obviously care about the substance of tech, about great innovation in software and in hardware. What's the deal with the clock against us on this man, Elon Musk? Is he a confident showman who got lucky, or is he a true tech visionary?
Well, he certainly, you know, he's got a track record. He was creating software. He was learning to code and created a video game, actually, at the age of 12, and then was savvy enough to sell the source code to that software for $500, and then sort of got involved in an arcade with one of his friends. You would say that he has an ability to know what's coming up. And when he invested in Tesla, he was approached by a couple of people who saw an opportunity for electric cars back, you know, about 10 years ago, basically, and saw then that there was definitely a market for this. And not many people at that point, you know, even if you really were a sort of green advocate, would have seen the possibility and seen the market value of electric cars. They were sort of a pipe dream at that stage.
Amazing. Well, look, I have to stop your flow, but Guy, it's been an absolute education. Thank you for your time on Talk Radio.